Hey guys, welcome back to Matthew chapter 9. And in this video, we're going to be covering the second half of Matthew chapter 9. So this will be part 2. If you have not read Matthew chapter 9, or maybe you've only read it one time, go ahead, just reread the whole chapter in its entirety, because it's probably best to do that. And then you'll see as we continue to read how chapters begin to blend and how it's really important to read everything in its context. So we're going to try our best not to read things in isolation. And the only way to do that is for you to be as most familiar with each chapter as we go through them. So let's begin. Matthew 9:27 says, "And as Jesus passed on from there, two blind men followed him, crying aloud, 'Have mercy on us, Son of David.' When he entered the house, the blind men came to him, and Jesus said to them, 'Do you believe that I am able to do this?' They said to him, 'Yes, Lord.' Then he touched their eyes, saying, 'According to your faith be it done to you.' And their eyes were opened. And Jesus sternly warned them, 'See that no one knows about it.' And they went away and spread his fame throughout all that district." So before this moment, right, if we go back just to the section above, you'll remember that Jesus had healed a woman with the issue of blood because he was on his way to go raise a young girl from the dead. And this woman who touched Jesus, touched her, was healed. And Jesus said that it was her faith that made her well. That's verse 22. So it's her faith that makes her well. And then here, Jesus is approached by two blind men, which is, think about, this is not a normal situation. This is not convenient. Understand the desperation here. Two blind men follow Jesus into a house. How do blind people follow anybody? All right. So the circumstances surrounding these blind men, obviously through life, was not easy, but it is not easy to get Jesus' attention for the healing. Jesus didn't just make it convenient, right? As they were crying out, "Son of David," which again is a messianic title. And Jesus didn't just stop there when he heard that. No, he continued to walk even into a home, and these blind men were forced, right, through desperation and need to follow Jesus into this house. And then Jesus gives them the credit by saying, "It's your faith," right? It's your faith that makes you whole. It's your faith that's going to heal you. And so these two blind men receive their sight. And then he sternly tells them, "Hey, don't tell anybody." But what do? They immediately go and they tell everybody. Because how do you not tell people? How is it not obvious that you spent maybe your whole life, or the majority of your life, blind, and now you're seeing? There's a whole world you're entering into, and it's hard to keep silent about that. But it's important to note that the reason why Jesus gave that instruction is because he wasn't trying to make himself famous. He wasn't trying to do these miracles, right, to get credit by the people and to earn people's praise. In fact, he did these things for them and them only. That's why he tells them to sternly, don't tell anybody. But then it was their decision to go and tell the world. So then the next section is, as they were going away, right, behold, a demon oppressed a man who was mute was brought to him. And when the demon had been cast out, the mute man spoke, and the crowds marveled, saying, "Never was anything like this seen in Israel." But the Pharisee says he cast out demons by the prince of demons. So Jesus, in this moment, is casting a demon out of a man who can't speak. And the moment he is delivered by a demon, he's able to speak. And then the response of the people, according to Matthew, and note how Matthew is recording this, right? He says that they said, "Never was anything like this seen in Israel." Not heard, because these people were now speaking, but seen, because Jesus was not just healing people physically from their blindness. Jesus was healing people spiritually of blindness, because that would fulfill the prophetic word in Isaiah that talks about him, right, giving sight to the blind. Jesus covers both the physical healing and the spiritual. People begin to realize, we have never seen anything like this, and they're starting to see Jesus in full, in his full form, right, in his true way of ministry, and they're starting to get it. And Matthew takes note of that. The other thing um, that we'll read the next thing first. It says, and Jesus went throughout all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom and healing every disease and every affliction. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion for them because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to the disciples, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest. Here Jesus again, according to Matthew, is going through all the cities and villages, and people are hearing about him, and he's healing, and he's delivering, and he's casting out demons, and his fame is spreading. But when Jesus sees the crowds, he has compassion on them. He has compassion on them, and that is very much like this prophetic word in Isaiah 49:15, where it says, can a woman forget her nursing child, that she should have no compassion on the son of her womb? Even these may forget, yet I will not forget you. So God is speaking to his people here, saying that how unlikely is it for a mother to forget a child that she just birthed? So much more is God never going to forget you. And that kind of compassion a woman has for her child, I have much greater compassion for you. Jesus here is Yahweh showing compassion on his people, healing all of their infirmities, going from city to city and proclaiming the gospel in every synagogue he can. And then he looks to his disciples, and with that same expression, that same example of compassion, says, pray for laborers. Because the laborers aren't just people that go to work and do things for the sake of getting paid. These kind of laborers have to have the same kind of compassion that Jesus has. And so he says, pray for laborers because the laborers are few. But anyway, we'll stop there. That's the end of chapter 9. I hope it makes sense. And yeah, we'll continue tomorrow for Matthew chapter 10. You guys have a blessed day. Love y'all.